Hello and welcome to what I'm planning to make the first of many video game countdowns videos. This one, not all of them are going to be video game libraries like GameCube, Super Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox 360. I'm going to try and mix it up a little. Excuse me, I have a sore throat. I thought I'd start with GameCube because it was Nintendo's first game system of the new millennium. A little dusty. And it was their first CD-based system. They decided to take the next step. Or maybe they were just behind the times. Bound to happen. Let's just start the countdown. Number 10 is Super Mario Sunshine. A lot like Super Mario World 64. Once you go to different levels and complete objectives to get stars to complete, the more stars you get, the more areas you can gain access to. Except in this game, instead of stars, it's shine sprites, which are these right here. You get different. You play as you get this gadget thing known as Flood, which sprays water, and you can use it as. It even talks to you too, which is kind of weird. You can use it as like a hovercraft. A hover thing. You get other upgrades for it. Use it to fight enemies and clean up spills. Like you fight bosses with it, like Petey Piranha, who is later featured in Mario spin-off games like Mario Kart, Mario Golf. He was also a boss in the Subspace Emissary in Smash Bros. Brawl. It's like to fight him, you spray the water in his mouth, and he fills up like a balloon, and then falls backward from the weight, and you do the... I always called it a butt slam, the, like, boom move. Then you do the butt slam to him, and it shoots the water out of his mouth, like... That's what I always loved about Nintendo, was their creativity. Anyways, number 9 is Rampage Total Destruction. Now this game... Most people are familiar with Rampage, like the arcade ones and stuff, and Lizzie and Ralph look kind of terrifying on this cover. This one, you play as, there's a lot more characters or monsters. Most of them you have to unlock, but it's awesome. There's some of them are ones like this. Like, I haven't unlocked him yet, but there's characters like that. Like, there's a jellyfish and a snail, not a snail, a mollusk and a squid, things like that. It's really cool. You go up, the original games, you only go up, let's say this is the building, you only go up the sides of the building, and this one you can go up the front, which is kind of cool. And, just the civilians, when you eat them, they talk, which is pretty funny, and there's also... In levels there are buses and trolleys and stuff where you pick them up and they go like this and like dump all the people out and eat them, like almost like a bag of chips or something. And the characters, you gain different abilities for them that you can unlock to make them stronger. And you can also play the classic Rampage on here, which was on NES as well. Well, obviously it was in the arcade first, and there's also Rampage World Tour is on here as well. Number 8 is Kirby Air Ride. I've always liked Kirby. He's one of my favorite if not my favorite Nintendo character. In this game, there's a couple of different ways to play it. There's different modes. One of them is an overhead racing mode, kind of like the classic racing game off-road. Then there's one that's like a racing game that's pretty much like Mario Kart. And then the one I used to do all the time was City Trial, whereas you go around the city and complete like objectives and power up your vehicle, or your ride, I guess you could call it, KO your opponents and stuff. But, there's different ones, other than just the warp style, there's other ones, like this one, that's like an eagle. There's one that's like shaped like a bat. There's one that's like a sword or a rocket ship or something. There's one that's literally like looks like a washing machine. You can play as Meta Knight, but you have to unlock them. This is also where the Dragoon, I believe it was called, which was featured also an item in Smash Brothers Brawl. That's in this. Yeah. Yeah, but it's a really good game. What the hell is he riding? Whatever. Number 7 is Luigi's Mansion. Now this was Luigi's always been kind of living in Mario's shadow. Like, there was, there's Mario Kart, Mario Golf, Mario Party. I mean, sure, Luigi's in those games, but it's named after Mario. So they were like, you know what, let's give Luigi his own game. So, you play as Luigi, you go to this haunted mansion trying to save Mario, as you fight ghosts and use this vacuum cleaner called the Poltergust 3000 to suck them up, kind of like Ghostbusters almost. And you fight bosses and stuff, which is... some of them are kind of creepy. Like, look at this ghost right here. I'm pretty sure that was one of the bosses. Yeah, it's a really good game. Definitely a must-play for the GameCube library. The new one is really good, too. The one for 3DS, that's one of the games that made me buy a 3DS, that drew me to that system. Number 6 is Alien Hominid. This was later released on Xbox Live in HD, but I remember it as, this is the one I was most familiar with, was the GameCube. That's why I never bought it on 360, because, why buy the same game twice, But it's, you play as aliens that fight against the government, fight back against the government violently, I might add. Imagine if E.T. did that. He used like a blaster and grenades and stuff, which is what you do in this. It shows like some of the stuff you can do on here too. Like, it's for 2 players. There's mini games. You can, there's different weapon upgrades, like a flamethrower and an acid gun, an ice gun. You can jump on the opponent, your enemy's heads, and then, like, you can either bite their head off or pick them up and throw them. How is this game only rated T? I mean, you can, if you have a melee attack if there's an enemy close to you, where you cut them in half with a giant knife. And, maybe it's because it's cartoony, maybe that's why it was T, but still. Actually, yeah, there it is right there. You see, he's cutting the guy. Well, he's not cutting him in half, but, They also... You can go underground and pull enemies under, which is kind of cool. Then we have... Number 5 is Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, which... This is one of the best Fire Emblem games. Fire Emblem, I've always liked these games. This series. They weren't... It was only in 2003 that they came out in America, outside of Japan. Originally, they were only in Japan. And these. What's cool about Fire Emblem is each game is different. Each one is a different story with different characters. That's why there's such a huge variety of characters. I actually have the strategy guide for this game. Hold on a second. Sorry. This was the only one that this is the only Fire Emblem game I had the strategy for. Let me show you. There we go. Alright, look at all the characters in this. Look at that. Like, there's still more, actually. See? And what was cool about this one was they started making animal-like characters known as Luigis, which, see if I can find one of them. They're animal, they look like, hold on a sec, it'd be easier to describe if I can find one. Actually, I think there's one right there. Just a second. Where the hell are you? There we go. Here's one of them here. This is one of the beast tribe. They look like cats. And then they turn into cats, pretty much. Like, they turn into almost like They kind of look like a lynx. That's how they fight. They turn into animals to fight, whereas we depend on weapons. And there's like a... humans and... Well, actually, in this game, we're called Bjork. And because Luigis are... Some people refer to them as a subhuman, because they're different. So people call them subhumans, like a racial slur, so... Luigis refer to us as human, human as a racial slur for us, so we're called Bjork, and they're called Luigis. There's other ones too, like bird ones, and dragons. They all turn into animals. Yeah, here's one of the bird ones. Those are herons. There's also crows or raven. Ravens. That's what it is. Ravens. And there's hawks. Hawks. But another thing that's really cool about Fire Emblem games is the way you gain some of the characters is through talk. Like if you're on the battlefield and like most strategy games, there's different units, and all your enemy units will look roughly the same type of person, but sometimes you'll see one that looks unique. Sometimes if that's the case, it's someone you can get to join you. Like let's say you saw some unique looking enemy named Oscar, and you had a character on your team named Larry. Now, let's say Larry and Oscar are brothers, but you as the person playing the game, you don't know that. So you could have Larry go talk to Oscar, or you could have Larry go to Oscar, and then other than attack or wait, another command will come up, which will be talk. So you hit that, and it triggers a conversation between the two, and Larry will convince, because they're brothers, Larry will convince Oscar to switch sides and join your team. The only real flaw in Fire Emblem games is when you lose an ally in battle, they're gone for good. You can never use them again, which it is kind of cool because it makes it more realistic, but it's a huge pain in the ass. It's actually a feature that in the new one for the Fire Emblem Awakening for 3DS, another good game. All the Fire Emblem games are awesome. They're just very time consuming. They're long as hell. But in that one, they made it optional, so you can either play it the classic way where allies do die, or you can make it so they just retreat and you can still use them. But on to the next game. Number 4 is Pokemon Colosseum. Now this was literally one of the best games I've ever played. You play as a character. You name him. Oh, he's on the back here. Yeah, that guy. You play as him, and you can get any Pokemon games. You call him whatever you want. You can give him whatever name you want. And you fight as You're originally part of this... I haven't played this in a while. You're another organization. I don't think it's Team Rocket. Maybe it is. We'll just say it's Team Rocket. You can... Like Pokemon Stadium, you can do Colosseum battles. In those ones you did Stadium battles. In this one it's Colosseum, but that's pretty much what Pokemon Stadium was just the Stadium battles and those, mini games, and you can do, Pokemon trivia things and look up information about them and stuff, but this one they created a whole story aside from just the Colosseum battles. And you play as this character who he worked for Team Rocket, and they're working on an experiment that allows you to actually steal other people's Pokemon via Pokeball, which originally you could never do that, because if you throw a Pokeball at somebody's Pokemon, it will bounce off because it belongs to them. You can't capture it with a Pokeball. So, and they're working on a thing like that. So far, they only have, they only have this prototype gauntlet one, and there's also another experiment they've been doing they close off the gateway to a Pokemon's heart to make them, just into mindless fighting machines, and they have, this dark aura that's invisible to the naked eye. And they use it to it makes them more powerful because they have like no emotions. But anyways, you as the character, you realize what they're doing is wrong, so you quit. You leave Team Rocket with your two trusty Pokemon, Espeon and Umbreon. Then you meet this girl who's... that's her right there, if you can see her. The girl with the red pigtails. Not Misty. Well, Misty has a ponytail, but... you meet her. She's been kidnapped by two of your old colleagues. So you beat them and save her, and she comes with you. You can name her, too. And she has the ability to see this dark aura on these Pokemon, so you... she helps you to find them, so if you see a trainer or a member of Team Rocket with the dark aura, you use the Pokeball, you weaken them just like you would in a normal game to capture, or weaken a Pokemon and capture them, but in this case you use the Gauntlet and the Pokeball to capture them, and then as you raise this Pokemon that you've captured, you open the gateway to its heart back up and get rid of that dark aura. Yeah, it's such a good game. Number 3 is Bomberman Jetters. Everyone knows Bomberman, right? This one was so good. This one was awesome. You play as Bomberman. It's like an adventure game. It's the versus mode. You play as Bomberman, but it's not just Bomberman. Like player 1 is white, player 2 is red, player 2 is blue, and player 4 is black. You can either do any of those, but there's also other characters you can be, like these guys, which are called Higgies. I'm not kidding, that's literally what they're called. Or you can be Max, who was featured in previous Bomberman games, like Bomberman Tournament for Game Boy Advance, which is considerably what I'd say is the best Bomberman game I've ever played. And there's creatures known as Carabons, which were also featured in Bomberman Tournament, as well as the Higgies. Now the Carabons are literally just Pokemon ripoffs. Maybe that's why I like these games, this one so much. But you use them. Oh yeah, the White Bomber can use them, whereas Max, because you play as the White Bomber and Max in story mode, and you use the Carabons to get to like areas you couldn't normally reach. Kind of like how in Zelda you use different items. But yeah, in the versus mode, there's also other characters, like, there's 4 new bombers. One of them's like a mermaid girl, and there's like a fire guy and stuff. And then there's other characters you unlock as well, because you find cards throughout the games. There's Jetters cards, which are what these are. I think there's 5 of those, and you unlock this guy named Mighty, he's really cool. Then there's 12 Higgy cards, which are the colors, basically the classic 4 arcade colors, yellow, red, green, and blue. So if you get, they're scattered throughout the game, because there's, like a lot of the, like Bomberman 64 and stuff, you go on to this area where there's like this, I think it's like a man-made meteorite or something with like a rocket, and there's like different areas you go to. With each one has a different boss and one of the bombers that you fight. And, the cards are hidden throughout these areas and levels. And the Higgy cards, there's 3 of them, because you find different Higgies, so you unlock 3 more other via these cards. And there's another guy you unlock too, it's like the main villain or something. And there's also, if you beat the boss, I think it's like if you beat the bosses in a certain time limit, you get lightning cards, but I haven't gotten all of them. You get another character by doing that. Number 2 is Smash Brothers Brawl. Melee, sorry. Now, this was technically a launch title for GameCube, because it came out like a month after this, maybe not even a month, but shortly after the system came out, and here comes the cat. Sorry. What? It's pretty self-explanatory, Yeah, what can I say about this game, This is when they first started the trophies, and the story or the adventure mode, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, number 1, Skies of Arcadia Legends. This is literally one of the best games I've ever played in my life. I've beaten this probably like at least 5 or 6 times. It's a game where you play as this pirate named Vise, and it was originally for Sega Dreamcast, which unfortunately it came out after PlayStation 2 and unfortunately couldn't compete with it, which is what forced Sega into bankruptcy, because I remember that the Dreamcast didn't sell too well. I never played this one. I mean, I never played the Dreamcast one. This is the director's cut, and this was one of the first games I had rented when I first had a GameCube, and within a couple of days of playing it, I was like, I have to buy this, which I did. I've been wanting to do a Let's Play video of this for some time, which I probably will eventually. And it's awesome. It's an RPG game. You're pirates, but you're up in the sky, rather than like, ships are out in the sea that go to islands, but in this case it's up in the sky. And I'll probably go more into detail when I do the Let's Play of this, because there's so much to say about it, and I don't want to. But it's an RPG. There's a ton of characters, not playable characters, but a lot of them, because eventually you get your own ship, and you form a crew and everything. So here's some of the ships and stuff in the background, because you fight this evil empire trying to take over the world. You go to different countries and stuff. As you go all around the world, one thing I should say, there's six moons. Yeah, 6 moons, because each one is a different color with a different element. For example, one moon is green, and I think it's like life or healing or something, so the world underneath that is all like lush forest and stuff. It's one of my favorites. It's all forests, and the people that live there are like natives, like Native American, and they live in treetops, almost, or treehouse type, almost like Endor from Star Wars or Return of the Jedi. Here comes the cat. Another one is the red moon is fire, so it gives off a lot of heat. So the lands underneath that are all deserts, and there's like the people are like Arabic and stuff. But yeah, that's like I said. I'll go more into detail with the Let's Play. But well, thanks for watching. Now probably do another one of these at some point. So see ya.